Standard Bank has reported a 4% rise in annual headline earnings. This was underpinned by continued balance sheet growth. The firm also benefited from lower credit impairment charges, flat costs in the banking franchise, and a robust performance in insurance and asset management. A final dividend of R7.63 has been declared. This takes the total payout to just over R15. That's an increase of 6% on the previous year. Exxaro has posted a profit slump. The coal miner has reported a 36% slump in full-year headline earnings per share. The decline is largely due to a fall in export coal prices. A final dividend of R8.66 has been declared. The firm has also committed to a share buyback program of R1.2 billion. That as it's met its goal of a cash buffer of between 12 and 15 billion rand. Alongside the release of Exxaro's results, the miner also announced a changing of the guard. Ben Makhara has been appointed CEO. He will take up the position from the 1st of April. Makhara succeeds acting CEO Riana Kopasha, who will remain in his role as finance director. Makhara is a mining veteran with more than 35 years industry experience. He is most well known for the stabilization, restructuring and turnaround of Lonmin and its subsequent disposal to Sibanye-Stillwater. Hyprop has delivered a 14.5% rise in half-year distributable income. The shopping mall owner says this is as a result of strong operational performance. This, along with the group making significant progress on its strategic priorities, has prompted Hyprop to increase its dividend payout ratio. An interim dividend equivalent to 95% of distributable income from the South African portfolio has been declared. This equates to R1.13 per share. Previously, the payout would have been 90% of the distributable income of the South African portfolio. Advotech is eyeing a double-digit profit growth. The owner of Crawford has forecast a rise in annual headline earnings per share of as much as 18%. No reason for the rise has been provided, but more detail will be made available when the company publishes results on the 24th of March. In the meantime, Advotech says it is pleased with enrollments for 2025, both at its schools and tertiary divisions, as those numbers are tracking in line with targets and continuing their trend of good growth. And the national budget could be tweaked further. That's according to Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. Most big parliamentary parties have rejected Godongwana's revised budget due to his decision to raise value-added tax. And so he says there will be engagements which may lead to some amendments. But he has cautioned that while he is open to hearing proposals from lawmakers on how to change the budget, they need to understand that there are difficult trade-offs involved. The manufacturing sector started 2025 on a weaker note, as total production contracted by 3.3% year-on-year in January. The decline compounds the 1.2% decline recorded in December and marks the sector's third consecutive monthly contraction, driven by weaker output in key subsectors. This includes the petroleum, chemical products, rubber and plastics division. The mining sector's downturn has also deepened. Production from the sector shrank by 2.7% in January, extending its three-month downward trend. The largest negative influences came from iron ore, PGMs and coal. Further afield, SpaceX cancelled the planned launch of 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. The mission aimed to replace the current crew and pave the way for the return of 2 U.S. astronauts who have been awaiting their trip back home. Here's more detail in this report.
2 U.S. astronauts who have been stuck in space for 9 months will have to wait at least a few days longer to return home after SpaceX scrubbed the launch of a rocket carrying a crew that was meant to replace them, called the Crew 10. NASA was set to launch a SpaceX rocket from Florida to relieve Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams from the International Space Station, but the agency said the launch was called off due to a hydraulic system issue with a ground support clamp arm for the rocket. The astronaut pair has been stuck on the ISS for the past 9 months after NASA deemed that it was too risky for them to fly home on the Boeing Starliner craft they arrived on, which suffered propulsion system issues in space. NASA says Wilmore and Williams cannot leave until the new crew arrives. in order to keep the ISS staffed with enough U.S. astronauts for maintenance. The Crew 10 flight would normally be considered a routine astronaut rotation. Instead, it has become politicized, as U.S. President Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk have, without evidence, blamed former President Joe Biden for the fiasco. NASA had moved the mission up 2 weeks earlier than planned under pressure from Trump and Musk, the CEO of SpaceX. NASA swapped a delayed SpaceX capsule with a different one that would be ready sooner. The agency now says that the next potential launch opportunity is no earlier than Friday evening, which would put Wilmore and Williams on track for a March 19th departure from the space station.
And Intel named former board member and chip industry veteran Lip Bhutan as its CEO and signaled the struggling but storied chip maker was unlikely to split up its chip design and manufacturing operations. Let's take a look.
Troubled chip giant Intel has found a new CEO. The firm named former board member and industry veteran Lip Bhutan as its boss. In a letter to employees, he said he would try to rebuild Intel's position as a world-class company. Shares in the firm surged 12% in after-hours trade following the news, with analysts saying the appointment should bring stability after a period of turmoil. Tan replaces Pat Gelsinger, who was ousted 3 months ago amid concern over faltering revival plans. Intel has endured a torrid few years, having to watch rival Nvidia streak ahead in the race to power AI services. It has also been spending heavily on efforts to become a contract chip maker for other firms, with very uncertain results. Such worries have led to speculation it could be broken up. Recent media reports have said rivals including Broadcom were looking at its chip design and marketing businesses. This week, Reuters reported that TSMC has approached other firms about creating a joint venture to run Intel's factories. Donald Trump had earlier asked the Taiwan giant to help turn the company around, though White House officials say the US president might oppose Intel coming under foreign control. Analysts say Tan's letter suggests he does not want to see the company broken up. The 65-year-old left the board last year amid disagreements over turnaround efforts. He was reportedly frustrated by the size of Intel's workforce and its risk-averse culture.